Welcome, everybody, to the NFL Betting Show on the Grizzly Crew Sports Network. We are at week 8 of the NFL season, and I want to remind you guys to go check out BetMGM. You can click on the link in the description down below on YouTube if you're watching there to get the top sports book for betting on this week's NFL action. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I want to welcome in my co-host, the guy who won last week by one game over me and Steve, Dan Kornhauser. How you doing, Dan?
You know what? It's good to be a winner.
Not really, because how far behind me are you still?
Listen, wins are tough to come by in this league. So when you get them, you got to savor them. And I'm saying
at 6-8, I'd say you were a less loser than we were.
I'll take it.
All right, so let's go to Steve Risley, who's always got his 30-second rant at the start of the show. Steve, what is it this weekend?
All right, in my Who Gives a Damn segment here real quick, two things. One is the World Series. Who gives a damn?
You're just mad because your Dodgers aren't in it.
Oh, yeah, it's the first time in 8 years that either the Astros or the Dodgers or some combination thereof have not been in the World Series.
That's what makes this one better.
Yeah, well, who gives a damn about Texas and Arizona? Really, seriously. It's time. Summer sports officially ended. It's over with. The Ryder Cup's been played. Baseball, as far as I'm concerned, ended when the Phillies got beat. Not that I'm necessarily a Phillies fan, but they were a good baseball team. Now you got two who gives a damn teams in the World Series. Go on, move on, finish out NASCAR, get that out of Mike's hair. Oh, Mike doesn't have hair.
And Mike doesn't. Sorry. You can't really get something out of my hair.
That's right, I can't. So I just figured that out. It's time to move on to football. College basketball's firing up. MME just signed some big, huge deal with Budweiser or whatever that is.
You mean MMA?
MMA, whatever it is. All right, that's number one. Number two is tying right in with the start of the season. College basketball preseason rankings.
Joseph Michael says he gives a damn. I don't know why we're talking about college basketball ratings on an NFL show.
It's not just dedicated to football. It's who gives a damn. It's my segment.
Even though people who watch it want to see football.
Top 10 teams, real quickly: Florida Atlantic, Tennessee, Creighton, Houston, Connecticut, Marquette, Michigan State, Purdue, Duke, and Kansas. I will guarantee you half those teams won't make the Sweet 16, and less than two of those teams, two at most, will make it to the Final Four. Who gives a damn? In 1980, we were on the cover of Sports Illustrated, the number one team in the country. We got beat going into the trying. I don't even know if we got into the Sweet 16 by Purdue.
In 1980, you got beat in the Sweet 16 by Purdue at Rupp Arena,
Kentucky. Yeah, so
I wasn't even there.
Who gives a damn about college preseason rankings? The only rankings that matter in college.
The thing that makes me wonder is who gives a damn? Why are you even bringing this shit up?
Who gives a damn segment? I'm done. That's it.
All right. Back to football.
Painless and
all
quick.
Right. So what we've got, this is my issue, and it's NFL officiating.
And Michael Joseph said he gives a damn about Dan.
Dan? Yes. What do you think about the NFL officiating? Colts Browns, that has to be on everybody's mind right now.
Yep. That's the big game of the week that everyone's been talking about. Everyone's going to be talking about it, and we should discuss it. People who aren't Browns or Colts fans are livid today. I've heard Jets fans, Giants fans, Titans fans, all kinds of fans outside of those two fan bases bitching nonstop over the last couple of days about this. And they're right. At what point is the NFL going to hold the officiating accountable? It's too subjective. It's too broad of, leaving things to open to interpretation. At some point, one of two things is going to happen. We're either going to have like robot or electronic refereeing where everything is done in the booth and everything is reviewed up in the booth, and that's that. Or they got to start firing people or making refereeing a full-time year-round thing or something. But something's got to give. It's fucking gross.
Right, Steve, your opinion?
Well, it's hard for me to comment because the Colts are one of the two teams involved, and obviously we all know I'm a Colts homer. If this had happened to any other team, I'd still be livid about it. I had this fear coming along when instant replay got into football. There are places where it is good. On black and white calls, just out of bounds, even spotting a ball, when you review spotting a ball, that's crazy because arbitrarily the ball is set on the ground and sometimes a guy is 1 inch short. I personally would just say do away with instant replay as a better solution than anything. And that's not going to happen. I know, Mike, you don't agree with that.
No, because you're saying right now it's all right for the officials to screw a game up.
Well, no, but I think they screw everything up. You can't arbitrarily screw things up.
But everything should be a reviewable play.
Then everything should be reviewable, including pass interference. And, was the ball uncatchable? Was that play that happened to the Colts in the end zone, was that even a relevant play to what was going on behind the line of scrimmage? I understand it's the rules, and you explained it before we started the show, but I just noticed across the board, it accentuated itself in the Colts-Browns game, and it hurts to me because the Colts lost the game I think they should have won. But I don't fault Cleveland. It's the referees. But if I was a fan, I would be upset. And if it happened to the Bengals and the Chiefs next weekend,
it won't happen to the Chiefs, Steve. Let's get that straight.
Okay, you're right.
It never happens to the Chiefs.
As long as Taylor Swift's coming to games, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, because, isn't the issue here with all the gambling and everything, these games look fixed.
I tell you, Mike, that's a great point. It's starting to look that like they're just fixed.
Yeah, and if that happens, Steve, Dan, we don't have anything anymore because people will start tuning out if they don't think this game is anything more than WWE, which is what it looks like. Last year in the Super Bowl, we had calls that swung that game. The year before, the Logan Wilson pass interference was an absolute joke. They would have had to kick a field goal. Game goes to overtime. This happens all the time. What was it, 2018, the New Orleans Saints and the pass interference which put the Rams to the Super Bowl. I could go back almost yearly with one playoff game where the officials affected the game. And the fact that it's not reviewable, but that the ball bounced once into the stands, that it's not uncatchable, is an absolute joke, Dan.
And the funny thing is, I feel like every single year, Mike, you say about the playoffs, but I feel like every single year there's a few games during the season.
There's games every week, Dan.
These conversations are had, and it's getting ridiculous to the point where we could go back even further. We can go back all the way to the beginning of the Tom Brady era, the Tuck rule. Half the stuff that New England was getting called. You want to talk about
the Tuck rule was the rule, though. That was a good call. It's just a bad rule.
You want to talk about but it was hotly debated. Half of the people said it was a pass. Half the people said it was a fumble.
No, it's just what the rule said. The rule was bad, and they changed the rule. And it just goes back to 1979. Renfro in the back of the end zone or the AFC Championship game. 1978 AFC Championship game. Denver goes to the Super Bowl. Rob Lytle's fumbles the ball clearly a yard away from the goal line, never gets in, and they call it a touchdown. This has happened forever. And I think what needs to be done is you have to have full-time officials. You need to pay them like they're players, because right now, how can you have a billion-dollar industry that has the most important people on the field are the referees, because they're the ones that control the game. They're not supposed to be, but that's the way it goes. And how do I know that, sure, this ref may be on the up and up, but, his daughter placed a bunch of money on the Cleveland Browns, or his daughter placed a bunch of money on the Indianapolis Colts. There needs to be an investigation by the NFL into any official when something like this happens. And by investigate, you investigate their friends, their family, everything to get to the bottom of it. Because if you don't have the trust of fans, you don't have a sport anymore.
And I think you made a very valid point with the whole full-time and paying these guys right, because you're right. They hold so much power in their hands, and it's literally one no call or one fluky nonsense call that was a soft hold or a soft pass interference or soft roughing the quarterback. It's like, where is the line drawn? When are we going to get to the point or when is the NFL going to get to the point where they're seeing this shit every single week, damn near, of some crazy refereeing gaffe and people bitching about it, and then Thursday rolls around, gets swept under the rug. Sunday rolls around, nobody talks about it anymore.
Question.
At some point,
2 points. 2 points. One is, I don't think the NFL is going to touch this, Mike, because it looks bad on the NFL if they start questioning the refereeing. They're just going to say it's a judgment call, move on.
Yeah, but it's what the NFL always does. They put their head in the sand and it'll come back to bite them in the ass.
Okay, so I think that's why you're never going to have a solution or resolution to this, because the NFL does not want this controversy rearing its ugly head. I was getting ready to watch a documentary on the NBA referee that got busted.
Yeah, Tim Donaghy.
Yeah, there's a documentary on Netflix I was going to watch just to kind of prepare for this, but I didn't get to it. Secondly, Mike and Dan, question: aren't the NFL referees full time now? I mean,
no.
Don't some of them make up to $500,000 a year?
They might make up to $500,000 a year, but they're not full time. Most of them are judges and lawyers.
What do you mean?
Hey, I'll tell you this: I think the biggest thing
I know are older gentlemen.
No, this is the problem. The older gentlemen are fine. The issue,
but they're lawyers. They let me finish, Mike.
Well, I mean, fuck, you won't even let me start. That was the
one. Well, I was talking.
Actually, I was, but go ahead. I mean, this all goes down to diversity. That is what destroys refereeing. Diversity. Because you've got to be diverse. They fast track women, they fast track minorities into these jobs now. Most NFL officials, I talked to Jim Tunney yesterday, had him on the show a few years back. I think he was on maybe with me and Steve once too. But he said it used to take 20 to 25 years in high school and college to be able to get to the NFL. But he said now, so they can get women in there, they're bringing in women that have never reffed a game in their lives. And they're fast tracking them, and if, the big thing to me is the diversity issue means you're getting less quality officials because you're only worried about the color of somebody's skin or whether they have boobs or not. So when you look at that, that's an issue. I mean, so don't you think, Dan, diversity is a bad thing? I mean, diversity is always a bad thing when you're hiring people based on what they are instead of what they know and what they can do.
I think the diversity angle is a lame reason only because it is an easy target. Instead,
it's an easy target because you're not hiring the best people.
I mean, instead, I would lean into more the accountability thing that you mentioned earlier, Mike, in that if they're not going to make these people full-time, they're going to fast track them. They're going to do this nonsense and put people up there on the main stage that never been anywhere close to the show, let alone the main stage.
Trust me, Becky doesn't belong on an NFL field.
What they need to do is start tracking the referees, tracking their calls, tracking how accurate they were, tracking the times that they called.
They do that.
No, I'm talking about like really tracking it, like these nerds do with their.
Every official gets graded for every call they make, supposedly.
Supposedly, make that information public.
Well, they won't, because you won't, and it's just like I would bet the Bengals this week getting 5.5 because it looks like Sam Darnold might play, but Ron Torbert is the official. And whenever Ron Torbert is the official, the Bengals always lose. He was the official in the AFC Championship game that was a joke last year.
That's the one.
He was. I think he was an official in the Super Bowl with Logan Wilson's call. And I mean, it's
That's
just.
I remember.
I hate to think this, but to me, this is entertainment. I mean, I don't really think Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are in love. I think that this is great marketing for both of them. It's great marketing for the NFL. I mean, and I hate to be negative like that, but it's what it looks like to me. I mean, I don't give a shit who's watching the game in the box with Travis Kelce's mom. I just want to watch the game. I mean, I'm not a 12-year-old girl, so I really don't care.
Yo, this Taylor Swift shit is crazy, though.
No, it's retarded. You have to be an absolute freaking moron to care.
I hate it, but yo, it's crazy. They really have Taylor Swift fans who have never watched a second of any sports in their whole life, don't even know what they're watching. They're only watching Kansas City Chiefs games just to say, oh, look, there's Taylor. Oh, look, there's Tay-Tay.
Hey, so, and don't you think the NFL is smart enough to know that?
Oh, they know what they're doing. They're not stupid.
And
but
so does Taylor Swift, and so does Travis Kelce.
It's turning into WWE.
That's what I'm saying. And
That's what it
with
is.
this
It is
officiating
definitely-
issue, it looks completely like the WWE. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and suggest who you should bet on in these fixed games. We've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Buffalo Bills. Risley, you look like a mannequin. Bills
What?
favored by 7.5. Who do you like, Steve?
What game we doing?
Tampa Bay at Buffalo. Buffalo
Oh.
minus 7.5.
Yeah. I don't like the spread, 7.5 points. Buccaneers, I mean, the Bills, neither one of these teams have been playing great football. Baker Mayfield's kind of in a funk. Josh Allen's definitely in a funk. I think that what's going to happen here is that Buffalo's going to come out a little more pissed off than Tampa Bay is. I don't know why I think that. I have, after last week, the debacle of the Bills, I said, I'm done with the Bills picking them, and here I go again. I do not like the 7.5 point spread. Golly darn, they're playing at Buffalo. What's the official spread? Is it still 7.5?
I mean, I've
seen it as high as 8.5.
Yeah.
Okay, but what are we going to go with for the
We're
show?
going 7.
Yeah, we're 7.5 is what it was at like noon today.
So that's what we're going to go with?
Yeah.
Oh, I tell you what, I'm going to take the Bills one last time. It's just because it's at Buffalo, and I'm giving it that 3-point thing. I think they can win by 4 or 5, and you give me that 3 points as the home field advantage. I think Buffalo covers this, but to me, this is a toss-up game, just because neither team's playing well. But I'm going to go Buffalo and give up the 7.5.
Yeah, this is easy. Buffalo minus 7.5. What do you think, Dan? I mean, Tampa Bay's been horrible the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, they have.
Tampa Bay's offense is so bad. They cannot run the ball. Even if they try, it's bad. Baker has fallen off the last couple of weeks.
Baker's fallen off because people realize they can't run the ball.
But see, my biggest issue is with the Bills, because this was a team that was supposed to be a
Super Bowl contender. Yeah.
I tried to warn you all at the start of the year.
A lot of people were high on Buffalo this year, and I get it. But their defense is ravaged. Josh Allen making bonehead plays, turning balls over at stupid points.
Hey, if it helps, Dan, Robert says Bills.
They have issues on third down against the Pats, of all people. It's just there's something lacking with Buffalo. I'm going to take Tampa Bay. I think Buffalo wins. I don't like the line. Buffalo's got to get back on my good side. I still think they're a top team, one of the best in the AFC. But I'm going to pick the Bucs this week.
I don't think they're one of the best in the AFC. But all right, next up, we've got the Rams at the Cowboys. The Cowboys are favored by 5.5. Cowboys are coming off the bye week. The Rams did play last week. The Rams' offensive line's been an issue. 11 sacks, just 3 touchdown passes in the losses to Cincinnati, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh. What do you think, Dan? 5.5 for the Cowboys.
I'm going to take Dallas at 5.5. This is a team, like you said, coming off their bye week. Going into the bye week, they got a dub against the Chargers, which at the time looked good. Now, maybe not so much. The Chargers are underachieving so bad, but they're much better than the Rams. And I think an extra week of rest will do them good. An extra week of prep will do them good. Yeah, keep it simple. Dallas.
All right, Steve, are you speaking sign language the rest of the show? Rams at Cowboys. I'm going to take the Cowboys, give the 5.5, but I'm really borderline here. I'm going Rams. Steve?
I'm going to go with the Cowboys as well. Both these teams are disappointing. Cowboys are more disappointing to me than the Rams are. Stafford just is, boy, I tell you what, that kid just is falling off the face of the earth. But they got a good receiving core, but I don't think they got a quarterback that can get them the ball right now. They got Kupp and the other guy, Nakua. But I just think the defense for the Rams is bad. Cowboys seem to look like they could rebound quicker. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys as well.
All right. Next
And
up,
Mike,
we
you know
got.
what, Rams?
Yeah, I already said. No, I said Cowboys.
Cowboys. Okay.
Everybody
Yeah.
took the Cowboys.
All right. Next up, we get the Minnesota Vikings at the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are favored by 1.5 points, but they have a 3-game losing streak. They've only averaged 16.7 points a game. I think Kirk Cousins is a very underrated quarterback. I'm going to take the Vikings, Dan, to at least cover the spread, but I think the Vikings are going to win the game.
Yeah, I'm going to take Minnesota as well. They've won 2 games in a row. They looked great this past week. Mike, kudos to you for picking them against San Francisco. They made Brock Purdy, who's been damn near money since he started last year, throw his first game with multiple interceptions. They had a San Francisco pass rush, one of the best in the league. Dangerous front four. Nick Bosa, studs, no sacks on 40 attempts or whatever it was passing. They're playing well. I'd like to see this going. I don't think they're a 13-win team like last year, but I think they're a little better than this.
They weren't a 13-win team last year either. Just a little bit of luck.
But they're showing some life. Green Bay's offense is struggling. They haven't gotten it going really yet. Since week 1, Love has been mediocre at best. I don't think that's turning around this week, even though the Vikings defense is a joke. I'm going to take Minnesota.
All right, Steve.
Yeah, Mike, first I want to congratulate you on making that call on that pick. That was a gutsy call and it paid off big for you. So good job there. That's why you're our fearless leader. I'm going to join you guys, and I just think the Vikings are just getting better every week right now. I agree. Kirk Cousins continues to show he's worth more to the NFL or to the Vikings than a lot of other higher paid quarterbacks are. So I'll give up the 1.5 and take the Vikings easily on this game.
All right, next up, the Atlanta Falcons and Desmond Ridder will travel to Tennessee to battle the Tennessee Titans and Ryan Tannehill, Steve.
Man, it's a tough game. It's a tough game to call. What, spread 1.5? Is that what we got?
Yeah, and the Falcons have been tough to pick this year. They're 1-3 against the spread as a favorite.
They surprised me last week
against the spread.
I'll let you guys spill the beans as to why, but I'm going to go with the Falcons in this game. I just think that Derrick Henry looks tired. Tannehill's not having a good year. I don't think their receiving corps is strong. Atlanta is playing markedly a little bit better football each week. And I'm going to give up the 1.5 and take Atlanta in this game.
All right, Dan.
I'm going to take the Falcons, mostly because Will Levis is going to be starting for the Tennessee Titans.
I'm taking the Falcons then.
Will Levis is starting at quarterback for the Titans, and I like Levis as a prospect coming out, but
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be a disaster. It didn't sound like he was ready coming into the year. A lot of bad reports coming out of training camp.
He will never be ready, Dan.
It doesn't sound like he was ready a couple of weeks ago or last week, whenever Malik Willis played for them, and I don't know. I don't like it. I know they got to go with Will Levis because Tannehill's hurt. It's ugly. They're not going to score any fucking points. I'm going to go.
I'm going with the Falcons also. We'll let Steve pick this next one first. We get the New Orleans Saints at the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are favored by 1 point. Steve, you got Gardner Minshew, the turnover machine at quarterback. What do you think?
Yeah, Gardner Minshew also the throwing machine. I mean, he put up over 300 yards passing last week.
Does it matter when you've turned the ball over 7 times in 2 weeks?
Yeah, no, you're right there. Yeah, and you're the quarterback man for us. You're the guy who picks that kind of stuff apart. I have bet against the Colts and not done well betting against the Colts for several weeks. Saints aren't really showing me anything that scares me. They're playing at Lucas Oil. I think the Colts I think they had Cleveland beat. Turnovers were costly. But the Colts defense, their defensive backfield is strong, and Derek Carr's been all over the map. He's either good or not good. He hasn't produced like I thought he would this year. I'm going to give up the 1.5 and take the Colts this time, first time, which means they're guaranteed to lose. But I'm taking the Colts.
All right, Dan.
I'm going to take the Colts as well. The Saints look ugly. They're just so bad. Carr ain't quite right. All they're doing is short passes to Alvin Kamara and slants to Michael Thomas. Olave got arrested, so Olave's probably not going to play this week.
Hey, at least he did something.
At least he did something because he's been doing a lot of nothing on the field this year. So much for their wide receiver one.
Yeah, unlike somebody Mike and I know who got arrested at 2:15 at a Taco Bell in Bloomington, Indiana.
The Colts owner?
No. If that's a good guess, though,
Good
Dan.
guess, though, yeah.
I mean, he has been arrested there before, probably.
That's what I'm saying. He's been arrested at a drive-through butt naked, so why not?
Why not?
It was a good guess. But no, I'm going to take the Colts.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Colts, too. I agree with Robert. He says in the WWE, you get screwed one week and loved the next. So
that's true.
We'll see if they follow the script. Next up, the New England Patriots at the Miami Dolphins. I'll tell you this. I mean, to me, New England played a great game. Bill Belichick showed why he is the greatest coach that ever lived, because this New England Patriots team shouldn't be able to beat anybody, much less beat Buffalo. So you've always got him in the background, but Tua has been exponentially better at home than he has been on the road. So I think Miami handles this game by more than 10, Dan.
Yeah, I would lock this up. If you could have gotten this at 9.5 or lower, you should have locked that up. The Patriots played well. Mac Jones played well. Congratulations to Bill Belichick getting his 300th regular season win that he was waiting for a few weeks. But that's it. 1 week up, 1 week down. I'll take Miami.
All right, Steve.
Oh, man, I do not like 10.5 points with a Belichick coach team. With the Patriots playing better football. Mac Jones didn't look bad.
Well, the Patriots stayed in most games this year.
Yeah, they have, but they're improving as a team and they're staying in games, which means now they're dangerous to win games. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go against you guys. I'm going to take the Patriots, possibly not to win the game, but to cover the 10.5.
Steve showing some sand. I like it, boy.
I don't like the 10.5 at all in this game. Miami did not look that great last week. But you're right. You know, that's a machine offense that can rebound real quickly. But I just think the Patriots just are a tough team to beat when Belichick has got his team clicking. They're clicking more than they have at the beginning of the season. Like I said, I think Dolphins can win this game, but I don't know if they can cover 10.5 against this Belichick team.
All right, next up, Dan, we've got the Jets at the Giants in the Battle of New Jersey. What do you think, Dan? Who do you think takes it? Jets are favored by 3 points.
I'm going to take the Jets by 3. That's great. I love that line. I'm a little surprised it's not a little higher to be completely.
Yeah, because I think the Giants are averaging like 11 points a game this year.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants' offense is awful. It's offensive is what it is. And, I mean, kudos to their defense holding Washington to 7 points and getting, 6 or 7 sacks in the game, something like that. Crazy considering they couldn't get any in the first month or whatever of the season. I don't think that's going to follow up this game, even though the Jets' offensive line is just as bad as Washington's, just as bad as the Giants. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, something like 17-13 or something like that. I'll take the Jets. Defense, baby.
All right. Yeah, I mean, Daniel Jones has played all right. The Jets.
I don't even think he's playing in this game. I think it's going to be Tyrod Taylor again.
I don't think. Really? You think Tyrod Taylor will start for the Jets?
No, you said Dan Jones.
I didn't say Dan Jones.
Yes, you did. You
I
said
said
did,
Zach
Mike.
Wilson.
No, you said Dan Jones.
You said Dan
Zach
Jones,
Wilson.
Mike.
I'll take the Jets minus 3. Steve?
I'll take the Jets. I'll take the Jets minus 3. Enough said.
Next up, we've got the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll start this one off. And, I mean, the Jaguars have played really well as of late. Trevor Lawrence is 2-0 on the road this season. I like the Jaguars here. I think they're the better team, Steve.
2 weeks ago, I'd have been right in your camp. And I don't think it's not the Jaguars. I think the Steelers are an up-and-coming football team. They play Steeler ball. TJ Watt got that.
Hey,
defense.
this is another game that was taken away from the Rams too because of an officiating error on the spot on the 4th and 1 play too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The Steelers-Rams game. Mm-hmm.
I think Mike Tomlin has an impact on this game. I think he's definitely the better coach. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna take the 1.5 and go with the Steelers in this game.
All right, Dan.
Yeah, Mike, I'm in lockstep with you. I'm gonna go with Jacksonville. They won 4 in a row. They don't look amazing, but I don't trust Pittsburgh. I don't trust Canada. I don't trust Pickett. Najee Harris scored a touchdown, which is cool, but their ground game is wildly inefficient. And I think Jacksonville is trying to peak at a key point in the season. They've rattled off 4 straight. Let's go for 5, establish themselves. Let's go, Jacksonville.
All right, next up, the Philadelphia Eagles at the Washington Commanders. Philadelphia's favored by 6.5. I'll take Philadelphia, Dan.
Oh, yeah, this is light work. I'll take Philly. What's the line?
6.5.
That's it?
That's a lock line to me. You go
That's what I'm saying.
go bet your house, your car, and your dog.
So they had Dolphins, Patriots, Dolphins -10, but they got.
I think a lot of those, the Commanders have given them issues the last few years. And if you remember, they played a 34-31 overtime game the Commanders could have easily won just a few weeks ago. And I don't think the Philadelphia Eagles are that great. And that was another WWE game because the Philadelphia Eagles somehow played the entire game against the Miami Dolphins and never had a penalty.
Yep, that's a thing.
And I watched that game, and there was at least 5 or 6 obvious penalties that weren't called against Philadelphia. Steve?
Yeah, I'm going with the Eagles and give them 6.5. I think this is a pretty easy pick.
All right, next up, the Houston Texans at the Carolina Panthers. Dan, Carolina is 3-point underdogs.
Good. They should be. The battle of the number 1 and number 2 picks, Stroud versus Young. It's great. That's what we're looking for. But Carolina's outmatched. Adam Thielen's having a great year, but they don't have anything downfield. Their ground game is questionable. Their O-line's questionable. Their defense is just everything about Carolina is disappointing. Houston was supposed to be, but who knew? They got good coaching. Their defense is useful. Nico Collins has taken a step forward at receiver. And no one can say, oh, well, the Texans are healthy. Nah, man, they've been starting backup offensive linemen since week 1. Like 4 of their 5 starters have been injured at one point or another in the early going in the offensive line, and they're still doing their work. So I would take the Texans.
Robert Stewart said, not the dog. All right. I'm going to take the Texans also, but to me, this screams pick the Panthers, but I'm going to go with the Texans and CJ Stroud.
Why pick the Panthers?
Because they haven't won a game yet.
I mean,
Don't you remember my Eagles Jets pick? Nobody goes undefeated. Nobody goes winless except for your Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
Well, but so I'm going to go ahead and take Houston. Steve?
I'll go with Houston.
Next up, the Cleveland Browns at the Seattle Seahawks. I will start this off. I'm going to say Seattle wins this. I think they're the better team because Cleveland does not have a quarterback. I think Deshaun Watson is tapped out. I don't think he wants to play. I don't think he was hurt badly last week. I think he was waiting for the first time he got hit to get his ass out of the game. He's got $230 million and very little character. He is a fucking joke. I will take the Seattle Seahawks -3, and that's a lock, Dan. Because PJ Walker sucks, by the way, and he sucked against the Colts. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, PJ Walker's just awful. When I see guys like PJ Walker starting, I wonder, is there no one like I'm watching Gladiator? Is there no one else?
There's no one else.
Are you not entertained?
We're not.
Seattle.
Steve.
Yeah, I'm going to go Seahawks on this one too.
Yo, Cleveland, no quarterback. Jerome Ford is out. Disaster.
All right, next up, Kansas City Chiefs at the Denver Broncos. Why are we even discussing this? I'll take the Chiefs, Steve.
Yeah.
I'll take the Chiefs. 8.5's a gift in this game.
7.5, KC. Whoo!
I got 8.5 here, but
either one's a gift.
Yeah, either one's a gift.
These guys are gonna sleepwalk.
Well, I have an important question before I move on.
Yeah.
Is Taylor going to be at the concert game?
We don't care.
Oh, it matters. They're undefeated with Taylor there.
What if we could get Taylor in the show? Then everybody will watch us.
I'll put a call into her.
Yeah, see if she'll meet at Dan's house in Jersey and sit on his lap and do the show.
Listen, I'll sit on her lap. I don't care.
You probably could. She's
We'll do
probably
it
bigger
live.
than you. All right, next up, Baltimore Ravens favored by 8.5 at the Arizona Cardinals. To me, right now, the Baltimore Ravens look like the best team in the AFC. We lose Dan?
Is
Dan
Dan
gone?
Sorry, we had some technical difficulties there. I don't know what happened.
Baltimore at Arizona. Baltimore's favored by 8.5, Dan.
Baltimore at Arizona. Baltimore by 8.5. I'm going to take Baltimore. I mean, Lamar Jackson. That's all I got to say. We went into last week with the Lions game, right? Oh, man, the Lions might be the best team in the NFC. Oh, Jared Goff.
And they are. And
is
he
playing.
is.
He's
And this is the thing.
with the best quarterback in
You
the
are
NFL.
an absolute amateur if you think that game matters that much. If the Raiders beat the Lions, then I would think it matters. But this happens to everybody during the season.
This was different because
Not really.
the Lions' weaknesses were on full display.
Yeah, they had injured running. Their best running back was out.
Yeah, but it wasn't even that their running game was lackluster. Their running game was fine. Gibbs had a fine day. It's the fact that their defense couldn't stop Mark Andrews. They couldn't stop anything in the middle of the field. And that's been a problem going into this game. The Lions are one of the worst teams in the league against defending tight ends.
Yeah, but luckily for them, there's only like 3 tight ends like Mark Andrews.
They're one of the worst teams in the league defending the middle of the field. Their safeties aren't good since Chauncey Gardner or whatever went down. Their secondary is just lacking. Their linebackers aren't that good in coverage. It's ugly. I mean, the Lions are a good team, but they got to beat a good team. And the week 1 game against the Chiefs, I still think that was a fluke because crazy shit happens in week 1. Okay. But the Ravens,
I think the important thing to notice here is Lamar Jackson, when he's in the pocket, he's a very good quarterback. As I said before, he's completed 70% of his passes.
Mm-hmm.
To me, right now, I would vote him through 8 weeks, 7 weeks as the NFL MVP. Yep. Now, I would also not give a shit because the MVP doesn't mean shit, but it just is what it is. I'm going to take Baltimore here too. It kind of worries me because they're coming off a huge win. They're going to the West Coast, and we've seen Arizona upset people like the Dallas Cowboys. But I'm going to go Baltimore, Steve.
Yeah, Robert, I had White Castle the other day. It's one of the things you can do once a year. That's about it with White Castle. And I had to go to Ralph's, which is the Kroger out west, and get frozen White Castle because they don't have White Castles in Los Angeles. So,
okay.
Great
so
story.
That's your pick?
White Castle?
Yeah.
No, I won't eat it again until
pick
2024. Late. My pick is I think Lamar Jackson is playing the best football he's ever played, and I agree. If the MVP mattered, as you said, Mike, and was an important award, other than the fact that it's just a bonus baby award. You get a bonus for getting it. But yeah, I think that he's running that offense. The players are responding to him, and Lamar Jackson is the most influential quarterback playing right now in the NFL. As you said, that'll change. But I take Baltimore in this game.
All right, next up, we've got the Bengals going to San Francisco to play the 49ers. The 49ers are favored by 5.5, Dan. And Brock Purdy is in concussion protocol. Deebo Samuel's out. What do you think?
What's this line?
5.5.
5.5.
That's what it was at noon today.
That's ugly. 5.5. Even without Deebo, I'm going to lean San Francisco at 5.5. If this line were like 3, 2.5, 3.5, I'd probably pick Cincinnati. But now 5.5 is gross. I'm going to go San Fran.
All right, I'm going to take the Bengals. Easy pick to make. Sam Darnold's probably starting at quarterback. Even if he's not, Brock Purdy will. Brock Purdy is slightly above average, as I told you before.
Superstar, baby.
The last 2 weeks, he's kind of been handled. Joe Burrow should be healthier. The Bengals are coming off a bye week. San Francisco's coming off a short week. I'll take the Bengals, Steve.
Yeah, there's a lot of players hurt and beat up for San Francisco right now. Not having Brock Purdy, I think, just makes a big difference.
So before you make your pick, because he's always right, Robert said Bengals.
Yeah. I think the 49ers are going to rebound down the season. They're not lost for the season, but I think they're lost right now in a slump. But they're going to get out of it, I believe, when they get healthy again. But we had the Bengals going to the Super Bowl, and I still don't think that. I still believe they have a chance to get there. The problem is the AFC North is getting really strong, and it's going to be tough to win that division and get into the playoffs. Is a problem in that division. But Mike, I'm going to join you. I'm going to take the Bengals and give up the points.
All right, next up, the Bears at the Chargers. The Chargers are favored by 8.5, Steve.
I do not like the 8.5. Chargers are all over the map. Bears stink. I'm going to take Chargers and give up the points. They're playing at SoFi.
Dan?
So this is Chargers minus 8.5.
Yeah, and I think we're getting to the point here where we can talk about, is it time to let that coach go in L.A.?
It's way past time.
I know it is, but if they lose a third straight right here, their season is in deep trouble.
The funny thing is, Mike, I'm in L.A. They're not calling for his head at all out here.
Because nobody cares.
Nobody cares. You're right. Nobody gives a damn.
Nobody cares about either team.
On Sunday night, Mario Solis, who's the NBC sports guy, doesn't even come into the studio to do sports. He doesn't do sports. The news girl reads off the LA scores for sports on Sunday night, and that's the sports segment. For
put
NBC.
It like this: I will guarantee you this: there'll be more Bears fans at that game than there will be.
You're spot on.
I mean, the Rams-Steelers game was like it was played in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they'll come out here and they'll go to the parks and they'll show up at SoFi. And yeah, you're exactly right. Nobody is calling for Staley's head in LA at all. They just know you're right. They don't care. But he needs to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know why he's still there, to be completely honest.
I can't even figure that out.
Every ownership.
It's every week though. It's every week. There's not even a thing where you could say, oh, you know what? That was a really well-coached game. They came out with a great game plan. They dominated in all three phases. Just you can't ever say that or say, oh man, it was 4th and whatever. What a great play call by Staley. Oh, the defense.
Yeah.
What a great scheme by Staley in the red zone there. It's like there's nothing to hang your hat on. I hate it. And it sucks because I liked Staley. I thought it was a great hire. I wanted him in Detroit instead of Dan Campbell. Luckily, I guess that didn't happen because the roles would probably be reversed. Shit, the Chargers might be undefeated right now if they had Dan Campbell, the way the Lions are playing with the talent that the Chargers have. Are you kidding me? But yeah, no, they got to get rid of this clown. I don't know what's going on.
You're going to pick the game, Dan.
Sorry, I went on a rant.
It's all right. Hey, when you win the week, you can rant.
Mm-hmm.
I hate 8.5. I hate it so much. But I'm not taking Badgett to do it again back-to-back weeks. I'm going to take the Chargers.
I'm taking Badgett. I love Badgett. I think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. I really do. From watching him, Division II, he won the Heisman. And if you watched him last week, he's a very confident kid. He sees the field very well. I'm not saying that he's going to be the guy that saves the franchise, but he could be the guy that covers 8.5 points in this game. So I'm going to take the Bears and Badgett.
Hey, we had a comment here. I want to address. Robert Stewart asked, "Are the stadiums packed, Riz?" Yes, they are, and I'll tell you why. It's a city of over 5 million people.
It's with other teams' fans, though.
Yeah, but what I don't know is how many tickets are sold, how many tickets are given away. I know that both teams, the Chargers and the Rams, advertise heavily for season ticket sales. Come in and buy season tickets. You can get quality, good seats at SoFi. The stadium holds over 70,000 people, so it's huge to begin with, but it does sell out. I mean, it is full every week. But when you got 5 million people in the city, and Biden's passing out free everything for anybody that swims across the Rio Grande River, one of the things they get are free Chargers tickets or Rams tickets.
No,
So they all migrate up here and go to a Rams.
Yeah, but they're all
Chargers game.
Steelers fans. So
And then they get a little card for the concession.
Eagles.
Yeah, they end up being all Eagles.
Steelers. I think in Mexico, it's Steelers and Raiders fans.
And then they get a card that gives them two $15 Dodger dogs and a $18 watered down beer. So they get them for free. And the dumbass idiots from Los Angeles pay for all that stuff. Dodger dogs are like $10, and it's a hot dog you'd pay $4 or $6 for a pack of them. It's Smart and Final.
All right, guys, Raiders at Lions. Let's focus. Dan, the Lions are favored by 7.5. Now, here's the interesting statistic. How many times have the Lions played in this century on Monday Night Football at home?
Ooh, on Monday Night Football at home?
Yeah, since 2000.
Since 2000?
23 years.
Once.
Nope, this will be the sixth time.
No.
They're 2-3 in the other 5 games. So this is a special occasion in Detroit. The Lions are favored by 7 after coming off a bad loss. The Raiders suck. What do you think, Dan?
I'm going to take the Lions because the Raiders suck. I think, talking about head coaches, I think McDaniels is out. If it's not going to be Staley, McDaniels is going to be the first coach out, or maybe Ron Rivera. But I would probably McDaniels if I'm a betting man, because this guy, I don't know what they're doing.
I would go with Rivera first.
I could see that.
They got a new ownership group, right?
New ownership, but at least the team shows some life. Like
the Commanders do?
Yeah. I mean, they
just got held to 7 points in New Jersey against the Giants.
Well, their quarterback.
And Ron Rivera sucks.
Quarterback likes to turn the ball over. The
put it like this: Rivera's had more chances than the other two yahoos.
I don't know, man. It's not like the Chargers have been great. I mean, they made the playoffs last year. Whoopie freaking do.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, I'm just saying that Rivera has had a longer time with the Redskins, and they haven't even made the playoffs. And no, I'm not going to call them Commanders because that's freaking stupid.
And I think last week, even though Baltimore blew out Detroit, I didn't see it coming, but it didn't surprise me. But they're not going to give up 355 yards in the first half in this game. I'd be absolutely floored if the Raiders put anything together. There's not going to be any Jimmy G. They're probably going to start Brian Hoyer again, which is a disaster.
Aiden O'Connell should start.
Just start O'Connell. We're done with old guys at quarterback. Just start the young guy. He's the best quarterback you have on the roster. Just give him the rock and see what happens. Just call it a day. But I digress. If they start Hoyer, the Lions are going to win by at least 2 touchdowns. So I'm going to take Detroit.
All right. I'm taking Detroit. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, I'm not giving up on Detroit just because of a bad week in Baltimore. I still think they're a very solid football team. I think Goff had a little bit of an off day, but I
remember this. Baltimore lost to Indianapolis a few weeks ago.
They did,
so
yeah.
That's kind of what I'm saying.
But I think the key word there is, Mike, Colts didn't beat Baltimore. Baltimore lost to the Colts.
It doesn't matter how it gets
done. Yeah, they outscored them. Yeah. They get the W and one team gets L. I get that. But, I think this is a lock of the week. The Lions will crush the Raiders.
All right. Anything else we want to talk about, guys?
Yeah, I'm watching the Celtics and the Knicks play. The NBA sucks.
They're probably wearing uniforms where you can't even tell they're the Celtics and the Knicks if you lived in the 80s, can you?
No, Celtics uniforms look the same.
Okay.
Yeah, the Knicks. The game's just on ESPN in the background from doing the show, and I just had lifted my head a couple times and looked, and oh god, the money these guys get just to make turnovers is unbelievable.
All right, Dan, you got anything else before we wrap it up?
Nope. Another good show.
All right, guys, we will be back next Wednesday at 7:00. Same bat time, same bat channel. Make sure you check us out on Twitter. You can follow myself at Grueling Truth. You can follow Steve Risley at SRisley34, and you can follow Dan at
DB Talking Sports. D as in Dan, B as in Bob.
And you'll notice I have a lot more followers than the other two dipshits. And Dan is just followed by his mom.
Hey, that's all I need, baby.
Hey, one thing I will say, I know, Mike, you're going to rip me to shreds on this, and that's okay. My week's not complete if I don't get ripped. You didn't call anybody a dumbass this week. I've been sabbatical?
Sick. I've been sick.
Have you? Okay.
I basically slept the last 3 days, and I didn't want to get up to do this show.
Yeah, I know, because I called you. How'd your football team do in high school?
We played Calumet at Indiana Wesleyan University on Saturday, and then we go to nationals in Panama City 2 weeks later, so we could try to get us another ring.
Good for you.
You need to coach something where you can win a national championship so you can catch up. You're down like 7-1 now.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, congratulations.
Hold on. Dan wants to share the screen.
Oh.
There we go.
There it is, boys. This is week 8. Doing things.
You're going to email that out sometime before tomorrow night?
I will send you a
Text
screenshot.
it.
Yes.
Yeah, text it.
So let's see. We all picked consensus on Cowboys, Vikings, Falcons, Colts, Jets, Eagles, Texans, Seahawks, Chiefs, Ravens.
Well, hell, me and Dan agree on everything but 3 games.
Pretty much. Well, yeah. So, Mike, we differ on the Bears game, the 49ers game,
and the Bucks
Bills. Yeah.
What are the seasonal point totals? How bad is it for me?
It's not that bad.
So as of now, Steve, after this past week, where I won 6 games, Mike won 5, and you won 5.
Yeah.
I am now down to Mike by only 1. Or I'm sorry, only 4. Sorry. And Steve, I think you're still behind by a substantial amount. I think you're still behind.
No, you need to know what this number is. You're the scorekeeper, Dan.
Yeah. How much am I down by?
I didn't add it. Sorry. So I'm at 57. Mike is at 61, and Steve is at 55 wins.
He's like, you're only 2 games behind Dan, so don't let him make you feel inadequate.
I know. There's time. I mean, I realize I'm not as good as you guys, but I have the most fun.
Hold on. Robert says D-backs in the World Series. What do you guys think?
Hey, you know what? If the best thing that comes out of the D-backs making the World Series is Chris Russo retires or whatever, like he said he would if they beat the Philadelphia, that would be amazing because he's annoying. Other than that, I couldn't care less.
I'll just say, being a bona fide Dodgers fan, I got a friend that lives in Phoenix, and I don't want to hear her crap all summer long. She's already spitting it out on Facebook, and I don't want to hear it.
This reminds me of the Red Sox Rockies. What's the I'm pretty sure Red Sox Rockies.
2008 was it?
Awful. The Red Sox swept them, and it was one of the worst.
So you think that the Phillies will sweep Arizona?
No, it's Arizona versus
what's
Texas.
Oh, that's what I meant. So you think Arizona is going to sweep or Texas?
I don't think Texas is going to sweep, but I think Texas is going to win.
I think Texas will win also.
I don't trust Arizona.
And there are 2 Indiana baseball players in this.
There
series.
are. Yeah. Schwarber's out. Ooh.
Well, now he says at least 1, so that's inaccurate information.
I don't think there's any. I think Schwarber played for the Phillies.
It's what I thought. I think Robert is like CNN or MSNBC, and you really can't take the information he says.
I watched last night. I watched the documentary on Nolan Ryan. He finished out his career with Texas,
facing Nolan or something.
2 no-hitters with the Rangers. So I got to root for the Rangers. I love Nolan Ryan. So I think he's just he's down-to-earth guy.
Except for the steroid use.
Yeah, whatever.
Funny they didn't bring that up in the documentary.
Well, then nobody ever brings it up, but Tom House was his personal trainer, and that dude was kind of known for that. And also,
he did go into Major League Baseball.
The fact that he was throwing the ball 96 miles an hour at 35 and throwing it 101 at 43 leaves me to wonder.
His most productive years were the last 5, 6, 7 years of his career.
Yeah,
that's when he was throwing the fastest and had the most strikeouts for a period of time. So it's pretty amazing. And he threw 2 no-hitters, 3 no-hitters in the latter part of his carear.
It was 2 because he got his 5th
for Texas.
His 5th was with the Astros against the Dodgers, game of the week, April 1980.
Yeah, I watched that.
It was 1980 or 81. Yeah. But and then
it was a great catch by some guy made one of the outfielders made an incredible catch to save it.
Well, I think the scary thing about him is he had a bunch of 1-hitters too.
No, he leads the majors in no-hitters, 1-hitters, 2-hitters, and 3-hitters. most ever in a career. But the guy played 27 years. Come on. And now, nobody does a complete game anymore.
No,
so he's got
a complete
records
game anymore as you got into the 6th inning.
He's
Good
got
job,
records
Bobby.
that'll never be touched in baseball just because nobody will ever play that long or pitch 9 innings anymore. That'll just rarely will that ever happen.
All right, guys. Remember
one last thing. If you haven't, there is a very good documentary on who's the soccer player, Beckham.
Oh, geez. Be quiet. We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about soccer? Soccer's bad?
It's not a
we
sport.
can't talk about soccer?
It's not a sport.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Stupid.
Well, I'll tell
Well,
you
wrong-
what.
Europeans
wrong
play.
football.
I'm going to tell you what. Posh Spice is a sport.
What is?
Posh, his wife.
Nobody
That
cares.
was the thing.
Oh, yo, hang on there, Mike. You
She's a
can
lesbian.
share.
She's married to a soccer player.
Hey, Giselle was married to a goat.
Yes, but then the
Yes.
goat got out of that so he could get a goat or a supermodel that was 20 years younger. Good job.
Go
Tommy.
to
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right,
All right.
guys, we're
I'm
going to wrap
done.
it up. Make sure you check out BetMGM, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at Grueling Truth. Check us out on our Facebook page. But for now, for Dan Kornhauser, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.